Why, yes, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to High on Homegrown, the cannabis podcast from percysgrowroom.com. I am Mackie from the UK, and joining us this evening, we have Marge.
Hello, everyone. This is Marge, host of Bite Me, the show about edibles, back in Ontario and enjoying much nicer weather. It's only like minus 10 or 15 or something now.
Beautiful weather, Marge. Beautiful.
Yeah.
We also have Monkey Doo.
How's it going, everybody? Monkey here down in the once again warm southeast US. After we've got most of the cold out of the way, sitting probably about 10 C, about 40, 45 degrees centigrade Fahrenheit. But hope everybody's got some really nice weed to smoke today because we got a great show for you.
Nice. Yes. Do you check the intro? Anybody who's just tuned into the show for the first time, right? They've just listened to the most boring intro we've ever done.
It was super professional.
We went straight out the book.
I can chop it up and make it professional. I can edit that out and just use that at the start of every one of them now. How's that? How's that, everybody?
No.
Yeah. Just that's 2 weeks in a row, by the way, and we point that out. Last week was also quite a successful intro, if I do say so myself. But there you go, just to show that we can do it. Well, I say we, I'm more like me and I. It seems as if the errors at the start of the show are usually down to me. Yeah. That's just how it goes. But yes, here we are on Sunday. Are we all good and high? I don't know what to say now. Everybody's gone quiet. It's like it's quiet.
That's right. Now that we don't have, we can't rag on you for the unprofessional intro. Now what's left?
Do you see why we do it? It makes sense now, right, everybody? You're like, oh, that was a really crap intro. Sure.
If we do it right, it's very fast and smooth and boring. People will just skip it if we keep doing it that way, man.
Just 15 seconds. Press that 15 seconds. We know you do it, everybody, but you don't need to do it on our shows because we don't have the advertisements throughout the shows like a lot of podcasts do. And it's a pain in the ass, when I'm like walking the dogs and I'm listening to a Theo Von episode and then the ads kick in. Like,
oh.
Yeah. But while we're here, we would like to mention our sponsor, Manscaped.
The lawnmower 2.0.
Are you sick of trimming your buds with scissors?
That's pretty smooth. Also very.
Are you sick of getting sticky trimmers? Try Manscaped now. Use code HOHG. I wonder if they're going to put that in there. Anyway.
Oh my God, no.
Let's get back to seriousness. Okay. Yeah, so we're here. We're going to do the cannabis news and events as we do. We got 7 stories to be covering today, so we won't mess around for too long. We'll move on to that pretty quickly. Just to point out, my internet has been a dickhead over the last few days, and I'm getting an engineer to come out tomorrow to look at it. So if the internet does go down at my house, then the show gets cut short. Then it will still be recorded by Monkey on the other side. So we still will have a show going out tomorrow. I just want to make sure in case the live stream does go down. But it probably won't. Fingers crossed, touch wood, and all that superstitious stuff. For the Grow Guides, we are talking about... What are we doing for the Grow Guides? Yeah, cannabis content creators, really.
Ooh, okay.
Different YouTube channels, different podcasts, books. Just these content creators that we have had on the show before, and channels that we would recommend that you guys can check out to learn more about growing cannabis and just to be entertained by cannabis content. You know what I'm saying? So, your mic is low at Mackie. Is it? Check. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Sound low to me, but
no, it's probably just because on the YouTube side, but I'll edit that out. There we go. Can we get some more volume? Check. Is that better, everybody? Is that?
Oh yeah.
Take the microphone. Take the microphone out of your mouth.
Yeah, that should be better. I've turned it up a little bit there, everybody. Nice. Thanks for pointing that out. It's always good to know. So we're going to be talking about the cannabis content creators and stuff. Lots of people have been on the show. It's going to be a good episode, I think. Don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't done that already. And if you're new to the channel, click on subscribe and come and join us every Sunday for the live show. That's about it. What we're smoking on this week, I've got that forgotten strawberries still. Pretty stoned. Got some red wine. Drinking on some red wine. Everybody, some red wine and some forgotten strawberries. You know what I'm saying? This show's gonna be a different one.
Some red wine.
Nice. I'm gonna edit that out and put it at the end. One of those Easter eggs. Yeah, well, you got monkey. Are you smoking yet? Because I know you had your bad chest from the flu. You had.
Oh no, I've been back on the vape for a while now. I got some Gruberhans today,
Nice, nice.
and it's extremely strong, so I have to be very careful with it, or I won't get past the news.
What are you saying, Margie? You're back from TGs. Are you going for a tolerance break now to recover from everything you smoked?
He
Probably
sent me
nothing
home with a nice selection. So that's the nice
Awesome.
thing about being in Canada, because it's federally legal. You can travel with weed.
Wow.
So I might enjoy some Sunshine Pilgrim, I think.
Ooh,
Now, how
nice.
far was that travel for you? Did you drive it? Did you fly?
Oh, I flew. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would take a couple days to drive
Did
probably.
your arms hurt from flying so far?
Canadians can
No,
fly
that's
really well, you
superhero.
know.
What a terrible dad joke that was. Oh my gosh.
That was pretty bad, but
Yeah,
I
I'm
am.
gonna have to add the baboom tish on that one. My gosh.
Okay.
Apologies, everybody. I didn't mean that. It's a really bad joke.
That's
God,
okay.
yeah. So,
Someone's asking in the chat, Monkey, if you're using a dry herb vape. I believe the answer is yes.
Yes, dry herb vape that using the Arizer XQ2 is what I'm using. So definitely worth
Nice.
the effort. Good one,
Sweet, man.
Yeah, I like the dry herb vape too.
definitely.
Yeah,
And this, the
unfortunately,
desktop models are a lot more powerful, give you a lot better hit than the portables do. So if I can use the desktop, by all means, I'm on it.
yeah, unfortunately, no word from Bubble Hawk as well. But from last week, he messaged last week saying that he had some issues, and I haven't heard anything from him again. He just likes to worry us. This guy
I
does.
think the emus got him this time, man.
Damn.
The
It's such
what?
a
The
dangerous
emus?
place. Yeah.
Emus.
The emus, they're back.
Oh.
They've come back for revenge.
It's either the emus or the drop bears. I'm not sure which one's got him, but yeah, one of the two.
It could also be snakes and poisonous spiders.
No ropes yet.
Mhm. But shout out to Bubble Hawk there. I hope he's doing well. Anyway, with that, we've got quite a few news stories to be moving on to. So I think we should get going on that. What are you saying? Should we do it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it then.
Yes.
Let's do it. Right, so we've got many to go through. I think it's 7 that we have to go through today. I don't know where to start on this, because there's a really fucked up one, man. Let's do a nice, easy one first, and then the second one will go to the fucked up one, and then that gives us 5 more articles after that to try and move away from
Cleanse
that
the
stuff, right?
palate.
Yeah. Cleanse the palate. That's definitely the right
Nice
term.
palate cleanser.
So, do you want to go first here, Marge? You want to take a shot?
Yeah, sure.
I'll put another one underneath yours as well. We want to have 2 articles. Plus,
Yeah, I
an
saw
extra.
that. I did see that.
Just snuck it in there. So whichever one you like,
I'll start with the one from Germany because I did talk about Germany last week. And
Cool.
this one comes from Euroactiv, I guess that's a European publication. Germany's promise to legalize cannabis by April, threatened by SDP's in-house fighting. That is not great news. I had no idea that they were planning to do this by April, but let's find out more. The coalition government's promise to legalize recreational use of cannabis in Germany by April 1st is under threat due to internal opposition within the ruling SPD, with high-ranking members speaking out publicly against it while others say they are sticking to the plan. The bill was a project of Germany's self-proclaimed progressive coalition. However, SPD of Chancellor Olaf Scholz launched a revolt against the ambitious plans, with key figures saying they would not vote in favor of the law at the moment, effectively putting it on hold. Boo!
Yeah, what the fuck is that about?
That was my own commentary, that last part, but infighting.
Well, I agree with that commentary is right on point, you know?
Right. Infighting in the SPD seems to be increasing, with the party giving mixed messages on the issue. On Wednesday, SPD group member Katja Mast emphasized that the cannabis law will pass the Bundestag in the near future. We are sticking to this, she told DPA.
It's just
However,
one of them words, that Bundestag. I don't know, it just reminds me of weed. It's like, this is what they would call coffee shops in Germany. I'm popping to the Bundestag,
yeah.
That's what I would think anyway. I don't think that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It's just one of those German words that reminds me of cannabis just because of the sound of it.
I don't actually even know what cannabis is in German, like the word. I should probably
Imagine
find
if it is Bundestag.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's why then. Shit. Oh, it's Parliament. Whiskey loving Calpy said it's the Parliament. Yeah, it's probably the
Oh, yeah, that makes
German
sense when they're
Parliament,
talking
yeah.
about passing the law in Parliament.
Bundestag.
So
Sorry,
going
Marge.
on.
Sorry.
However, the party's criminal policy spokesman, Sebastian Fiedler, only hours later refuted these claims. Naturally, talks are being held on the cannabis law. I still hope they will lead to the realization that this law must not be passed under any circumstances, Fiedler told the Post. According to Fiedler, he is not alone in his opposition.
Told who, Marge?
You know, I speak.
Hold on, Marge. Are you not studying German on Duolingo?
I am, but that one's a tricky one. I thought instead of butchering it, I would just gloss it over. Hopefully, nobody would pick up on that. But apparently, I've been outed.
I had to. We have to try and pronounce these words. Should we try it?
Oh,
Post. Is that it? That sounded correct.
Well, nobody can refute me. So, how do you know?
Yeah, sounds good. Let's roll with that. I'll edit it to make it
run with that.
all that gone.
Right.
You know, just the Rheinisch Post.
Rheinische.
Nice, Marge. You see that? Wow. Yeah, we're definitely. I'll fix that in post. Don't worry.
She got the tongue and everything going there with the Rheinische.
So according to Fiedler, he's not alone in his opposition. I know a large number of colleagues in my parliamentary group who share this view, he stated. For Federal Health Minister Karl Lauterbach, who has been a strong supporter of the bill, the opposition to the legalization out of his party is especially unwelcome. Now, an internal report by the Federal Criminal Police Office from December came to light, which states that the law enforcement and regulatory authorities of the federal states will be faced with additional tasks and expenses, and road safety issues may increase. The report was requested by the Conference of Justice Ministers Catherine Wallman, Justice Minister of Lower Saxony, currently headed the conference, has spoken out against legalization. I warn against suggesting that cannabis is harmless just because possession in certain quantities is likely to be unpunishable, she told the Legal Tribune online. The Interior Minister of Nancy Faeser, while not officially being against it, also cast doubt on the new law, stating there are classic safety arguments against it. Süddeutsche Zeitung reported.
Wait a minute. Classic safety arguments. What are these classic arguments that they're talking about here? You know?
One of them is it causes mind altering schizophrenia.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Psychosis.
You'll kill your family and all that stuff. Yeah. Right.
And
did you turn into a bat too? Is that also one of them?
And
that's
the police
good side
saying
effect.
that they're
Sorry,
going to have
Marge.
extra work, like saying that the police will have extra work.
That makes no sense.
I don't know if that's true. And also the road safety issues may increase. I feel like those road safety issues are already there. And if you look at any country that's already legalized, I think they've found that really road safety issues remain relatively constant. So why don't they just look to a place like Canada?
That's what I was going to ask. You're a Canadian. Did the world fall apart when you legalized? I think it's going pretty well.
No, but it means I can travel from Saskatchewan to Ontario with a bag of weed and no one even looks at you anymore. And that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I would think it would be kind of nice.
Which is less work.
Get on the airplane with the weed and say, oh, it's my carry-on. Don't worry about it. I'm good.
It still feels weird, I will say, but did it anyway.
I still get that when we go to legal states and I literally walk by a police officer to go into a dispensary. It's like, excuse me, sir. Oh man, every time I do that, it just freaks me out a little bit.
Excuse me, sir. Can I borrow your lighter?
You can literally do that, and it's not illegal.
I have to take my medicine.
Yeah, so it sounds like they were going to be legalizing possibly as early as April 1st of this year, and now the party is internally is like, we're gonna do it. No, we're not. We're gonna do it. No, we're not. And that's disappointing.
John Finnegan mentioned a good thing there in the chat where he said a country with the Autobahn worried about road safety. And it's like, wow, yeah, it's a good point. But isn't the Autobahn super safe?
You know what's funny about that? I have a German friend and she's in Germany right now. And I'm learning German. I thought the Autobahn was like the Autobahn, like a roadway people went to drive really, really fast. But Autobahn just means highway. That
Yeah.
refers to every highway in the country.
They have no speed limit.
I always assumed it was one road. There was just
Actually, what I
one
heard though,
Autobahn.
Like a
Mackie, is that's
racetrack.
not
Yeah.
not really correct. There are speed limits on the Autobahn depending where you are.
Right.
You
Mm,
know, as it goes through more populated areas, they will reduce the speed on the Autobahn, is what I've heard. But I also did hear that from a man who used to live in Germany, that if you're a lawbreaker on the Autobahn, they don't play. They carry
Yeah,
machine
yeah.
guns and drive Porsches, basically. So yeah,
Mhm.
don't be unsafe because they'll get you off the Autobahn.
So we need to make like a little sound clip it. That's like random fact of the week. And
Right.
because we always come with this just random shit that's got nothing to do with the show.
Well, the Autobahn, I mean, it's
Yeah, well,
Germany here. You know?
It's kind of related, but it would just be nice to that little sound clip. Somebody record us that sound clip and send it to us, and we'll use it. Okay.
This article, though, Marge, sounds like their Germany is worried about the same stuff that I keep hearing that the opponents in the U.S. What about the car safety? What about the children and all that stuff like that?
Yeah.
My gosh, same argument. I'm tired of these arguments. It's like I thought we got through all these points already.
Right.
So let's move on to this shit one that we have here, and it's a difficult one because is it shit? I don't know. I just think that it's a little. Let's just get into it so I can fucking explain myself afterwards instead of making no sense, and you're like, what is he fucking talking about? Let me put this on the screen for you. Cannabis use during pregnancy may be linked to CNS, which is central nervous system cancers in children. This is just, there's coming up with these horror stories of, causes mind altering effects and, psychosis. They're saying all that's one thing, but saying that essentially that if mothers smoke cannabis during pregnancy, they stand a higher chance of giving their babies fucking cancers and shit. I think that's just a little bit fucking dark, man. And they gotta have some good evidence before they start throwing things like that around. You know what I mean?
Would it be safer to say that smoking anything during pregnancy may harm your child? Not necessarily just the cannabis. I mean, tobacco would be probably just as bad for your child.
It's just, I just don't like the wording of it, trying to place some kind of blame. But maybe the study is done well and everything. I did look into this further and try and find out more about the study, but I couldn't find much. But I'll read into this anyway. We'll have a little look at this article. Researchers may have identified an association between certain types of childhood cancers and cannabis use amongst pregnant patients, according to a recent study published by Wimberly et al. In Cancer Epidemiology, Biomarkers and Prevention. The findings add specificity to the potential harms of drug and alcohol use during pregnancy. Background. The risk of drug use, smoking, and drinking alcohol during pregnancy have been widely accepted. However, the use of cannabis, often as a remedy for severe morning sickness and nausea, has recently increased. Alcohol and tobacco use during pregnancy have declined, but gestation cannabis use has risen in the last decade, explained senior study author Kyle Walsh, PhD, associate professor in the Department of Neurosurgery, Pathology, Pediatrics, and Population Health Sciences at the Duke University School of Medicine. So that's quite an established role. That is,
a long title for sure.
Yeah, damn. How many letters you got after your name? God damn. The psychoactive compounds of cannabis are capable of crossing the placental barrier and may interfere with normal neuronal development in the fetal brain. We examined 15 different types of childhood cancer and identified an association that was quite specific to cancers of the central nervous system, he continued. It's like... Yeah, I don't know how accurate this study would be, and what do they mean is use? It's just bad. I think it's just bad wording. I don't know. It just feels funky. This article does. You don't want to be trying to place any kind of fucking blame on the parents if their child suffers with a terrible fucking disease like cancer. If somebody does have a child with some kind of central nervous system cancer, they read this article, they're going to be like, oh shit, it was my fucking fault. And it's like, you can't do that, man. That's fuckery. Especially if it's not, you know, you need to be really cemented and fucking accurate and be telling the truth. You know what I mean? It's just, I just find the wording, I find it strange, man. It's like a kind of gaslighting or placing blame. I don't know. But anyway, in the recent study, the researchers surveyed the parents of pediatric patients diagnosed with cancer prior to the age of 18 from 3,145 families, of which 92% identified as the biological mothers of the patients. The respondents were asked to answer questions regarding the maternal use of tobacco, alcohol, and/or illicit drugs during pregnancy. The researchers found that 14% of families reported gestational use of tobacco products, 4% of them reporting using illicit drugs such as cannabis or cocaine, and 2% of them reported drinking greater than a moderate amount of alcohol. Although cannabis use was not analysed separately, the survey specifically referenced cannabis as a category of illicit drug. Further, cannabis has been documented as the most commonly used illicit substance during pregnancy. So again, it's like they haven't even
But they lumped
singled
it
out
together
that
with
cannabis.
cocaine.
They lumped it
Yeah,
with
yeah.
everything. Yeah, it's completely
That's
just
right.
it's an illicit drug. That's all it says.
Wow. How do you draw conclusions from that?
You know,
Poorly, very poorly.
we've such a big issue like that as well. I just
Using
find it
cocaine
terrible.
while you're pregnant versus
I know,
cannabis,
right?
two very
Yeah.
different things.
Hey, yeah, let me shoot up a little bit of this heroin right here. No problem, right? I'm pregnant. It won't mind.
And that's right. You
just
know, it's
crazy.
and there's
stuff,
other things
man.
that need to be taken into consideration. Like if somebody, for example, you don't want to stereotype, but you know, if somebody is on heroin, for example, and they are pregnant and they continue to use heroin, in most situations, they're not living the best life. They're not eating a good diet. They're not
Right.
sleeping properly.
Yeah.
They're not doing good things with their body in the first place. So you can't just single out one part of the whole problem and blame that. You know, it's just I just don't like the wording of articles like this, trying to place blame on people when they haven't done the study fully. When the study's done,
Well,
and like they have no doubt this is what's happening, pull it out in the fucking news so people don't do it in the future. You know, but
sounds
just
like
to
this
have
article
a
was
brief idea. Sorry, man.
the article sounds like it's aimed correctly as a blaming cannabis because it's not. You know, they look at the title of it. I mean, come on.
Mhm.
And then it says there's no way in the world they did not single out cannabis. So what the heck here? You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
This
they
is-
could have entitled it cocaine use during pregnancy, maybe linked to CNS cancers in children. Like, why
we
did
can
they?
put anything
Mhm.
ketamine. Go ahead, put it all in. Anyone you want
Right.
to put up the top. But yeah, insert name of illicit drug here.
Bullshit. So I'll read the conclusion here. It says, we hope that our findings can promote increased provider-patient dialogues about the potential effects of prenatal substance use and cannabis use in particular. This has implications for public health messaging. We also stress the need for further research into the risk-benefits profile of cannabis use amongst expectant mothers, Dr. Walsh emphasized. The researchers concluded that the risk of gestational substance use should be weighed appropriately with different considerations for patients experiencing severe morning sickness versus those who use cannabis recreationally. Disclosure. The research in this study was funded by Alex Lemonade Stand Foundation, the Tobacco-Related Disease Research Program of California, and the National Cancer Institute. Full disclosure of the study's authors, visit this website here. So, and you can go to the ASCOpost.com, ascopost.com to find this news article. And, you know, they're in the disclosure, you know, this was, this study was funded by Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, the Tobacco-Related Disease Research Program. It's like, I wonder who all these people are funded by. It's just bad to say this shit, man. This is a fucked up article, this is. I'm just saying that.
Well, this studied by people who are, say, have a vested interest in making you see a problem here. You know, it's not, they're not trying, those studies were funded to find a problem, not to say that there wasn't a problem.
Yeah. Fucked up article. So that's the one I said, which was pretty dark, and you know, I wanted to quickly cover that and bring it to your attention. Because I just think it's fucked. It's like they're trying to propagandize us by doing a half-assed study and blame the parents of sick children for their children's sickness because you smoked a couple of joints while your child was pregnant. This is your fault. It's like,
you know,
that's fucked. That's fucked, man.
Always been interested in this in a different sort of way because I mean, cannabis is an effective treatment for nausea. And nausea is something that expectant mothers sometimes have to deal with, some more than others. And it's widely known that some pregnant ladies do use cannabis to control the nausea, but of course it's not spoken about, it's behind it. But we actually need a study that's out front and open about this until we can actually see something. But yeah, what pregnant mother is going to be open about using cannabis and not worried about getting your kid taken away,
Yeah.
Right.
So, but
very
we
true.
need an honest,
Yeah.
open study here, something that we could really see some real information, not, okay, all of these drugs are bad and cannabis is one of them, so cannabis might cause a problem. We know this.
Yeah, this is why they should definitely be studying this stuff more, because it could be like a really small amount will, help with the nausea or the morning sickness and that kind of thing. Maybe CBD does, but because it's been prohibited for so long and you can't talk about it openly, then it just goes underground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the
And then you
studies
have
and
the,
do them fucking properly. So for a change, we can kind of have some kind of faith restored to the pharmaceutical fucking industry, because nobody trusts these bastards anymore. And because they just lie. It's all about profit to them. It's all about profit to them. They'll fucking say anything just to make more fucking money. But do the studies properly, man, instead of having some invested interest,
Billy Herb does mention in the comments that a study wouldn't pass the ethics committee if they think cannabis is harmful, and he does have a point, because basically that's being like, well, let's just experiment on your baby and we'll fuck around and find out, and who wants to sign up for that too?
Exactly, and that's why you'll never see that study, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to study it without having expectant mothers actually consuming. I don't really know, but
there's I've been reading a little bit about two different possibilities. One is all I can say is cellular modeling. Like they can actually create colonies of different cells and expose them to different drugs and see how they react. That's one way of doing it. The other one is electronic modeling, software doing it that way. But what else, 100% completely replaces actual real life application now? And I really don't know. I don't know. This is a hard one. What do we do here? I think we leave it up to the mothers. I don't think any mother out there intentionally wants to hurt their child, so I'm going to leave it up to you.
And to even insinuate that is the case is terrible, and people who conducted this weak study need to take that into consideration before they do their next one. But should we move on to another one?
Let's do it.
We'll do that one in a bit. Monkey, you want to do one of yours because you haven't done one yet, have you?
Which one do we want to go to? Let's see.
Let's go to Supreme Court, man. Let's go for the Supreme Court.
We'll go to the Supreme Court one. Okay, so here we go. Supreme Court to decide if smell of cannabis justifies vehicle searches. This is in Illinois. This has been going around for quite a while now, ever since we had legalizations in any state. Okay, what about the smell? So let's take a look at this one. In Springfield, Illinois, an issue that has tied lower courts up in knots, whether the odor of cannabis alone is grounds for police to search a vehicle, is now before the Illinois Supreme Court. Appellate courts have split over the question, forcing the high court to make the call. At issue are efforts to keep the roads safe and prevent illegal trafficking while protecting a constitutional right against unreasonable searches. Before legalization, courts had long held that the smell of cannabis was grounds for a search. Defense attorney James Myrtle conceded during arguments before the Supreme Court earlier this month. But Mertes argued that once possession of a small amount of recreational pot became legal under the state law in 2020, smell no longer is evidence per se of a crime. The odor of cannabis is now the odor of aroma of legality. Now, I like that statement.
Well, that's a nice quote.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because it truly is. When we walk around in legal cities, and it's just a normal thing that you smell now. It's just part of the surroundings.
That's great.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Prosecutors countered that state laws make it illegal to transport cannabis without a sealed, odor-proof container, and it is still illegal to get high or be high while driving. In a somewhat unusual circumstance, the court consolidated two new cases with opposite appellate rulings on the same issue. In Henry County in 2020, a state trooper stopped Ryan Redmond driving a Kia SUV for having a dangling license plate and driving 3 miles an hour over the speed limit on Interstate 80 in Western Illinois. 3 miles an hour.
Jesus.
Damn.
What was he thinking?
I don't know, man. 3 miles over. Imagine if it was 3 miles under. It could be just as dangerous. But you
3
gotta
miles
stop
an
that
hour over,
person.
and he was going downhill. You know,
Yeah, dangling license plate. You gotta watch that dangler there. The trooper testified that I-80 is a known drug corridor. Now, I hate it when cops do this, connecting known hubs of criminal activity in Des Moines, Iowa, and Chicago. Yeah, I lived along. Anytime you're on any in the United States interstate highways, the police always say that is you live along a drug corridor.
Right, even though it's interstate highway.
It's the same highway, yeah.
travel.
Mom and grandma goes to the grocery on that same highway, but you're gonna call it a drug corridor. I
Well,
know
she
that
could be
people
going 3 miles per hour over the speed limit, indicating something's amiss.
Yeah, especially if she had a dangling license plate, Oh
Right.
my gosh.
She probably got pounds in the trunk.
All right. The trooper testified that he smelled a strong odor of burnt cannabis coming from the vehicle. When he searched it, he found about 1 gram of pot, enough for a couple of joints. 1 gram. He found 1 gram. Everybody celebrate. This officer found a whole gram of pot.
Remember, Monkey, not all heroes wear capes, bro.
Yeah, some of them find 1 gram of pot.
Keeping our streets safe.
I'm telling you. The trial judge ruled that the smell alone was not sufficient probable cause to believe a crime was committed and therefore not enough to justify a search. Otherwise, Circuit Court Associate Judge Daniel Dalton ruled a person who exercised the state law right to possess and smoke cannabis would give up his right to be protected from unreasonable searches. Okay. Dalton dismissed the charges and the 3rd District Appellate Court upheld that ruling. But in Whiteside County, also in 2020, a state trooper said he smelled raw cannabis in a motor vehicle and upon searching it, found a small cardboard box with several joints rolled inside and a plastic container in the glove box with suspected cannabis inside. Now, wait a minute. This guy smelled, quote unquote, several roll joints inside of a cardboard box. This guy's got a hell of a nose.
I'll say should be a sommelier or something instead, because that's pretty impressive.
It's because he quit weed 3 days ago and he's gagging for a joint. So
right.
I know it's in there, man.
He's like,
I can smell
it. The passenger, Vincent Molina, who is Myrtle's client, was charged with possession, and the same Judge Dalton threw out the case. So yeah, evidently the smell wasn't good enough for the judge, at least. The judge presides over multiple counties, parts of which are overseen by different appellates. The 4th District Appellate Court overturned the ruling in the Molina case, noting that despite the legalization of small amounts of cannabis under state law, a person still may not use cannabis while driving or drive while impaired. Now, I have a question on that. The officer didn't say that he found cannabis being consumed in the car. He said he smelled he noticed the smell of burnt cannabis, right?
In the first incident.
In the first incident, right. So,
Yeah.
but what if the vehicle was parked at the guy's house and he had smoked a joint in there? He was just driving after that. There's nothing illegal about that.
Right.
And you would still have the same smell inside the vehicle. So that, just the point that stuck out in my mind right there is like, okay, he's smelling cannabis, but it could have been consumed legally. It doesn't mean that this guy was actually consuming it while he was driving. So in hearing oral arguments this month, Chief Justice Mary Jane Tice questions focused primarily on impaired driving.
What was her name?
Tice, T-H-E-I-S, Tice.
Chief Justice Mary Jane Tice.
I say Tice, T-H-E-I-S.
Is she like
pro
or anti-cannabis? What do you think? Somebody called Mary Jane. You think she's pro? Or like, is she just sick of it for her whole life? I'm sick of being compared to weed, man. I hate weed.
I think that's probably the case there. You can imagine every time somebody gets brought up in front of Judge Mary Jane for a weed conviction, I'm sure that just
and
messes
like,
with her head.
Like,
Is
no.
this a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. What is karma trying to tell me here? Mary Jane's going to kick my butt. Okay,
her dad loved weed and she's got daddy problems, anyway. That's what it is. Sorry, Monkey. Sorry.
Anyway, let's finish this article. There's a real concern that I think everyone embraces, that we don't want people who are really high driving down our highway, she said. I'm very worried about that. Now, I'll actually say the same thing. I don't want people very high driving down the highways, but at the same time, weed affects you differently than alcohol does when you if you consume and drive. Defense attorney Bruce Carmen conceded that concern, but said in the case of Redmond, his client, there was no signs of impairment, noting that the smell of pot can cling to clothes long after smoking. Just as the smell of alcohol alone is not sufficient for a search, officers may consider it to conduct field sobriety tests to the question of the driver, see if there's any evidence of a crime. Justice P. Scott Neville also questioned whether the smell of cannabis alone would justify a search of a person walking down the street. Good point. Excellent point. Historically, there have also been racial disparities in vehicle searches. Police in Illinois were 3 times more likely to attempt to search black drivers compared to white drivers, though black drivers had contraband only half as often as the whites did.
Wow.
Interesting
Isn't
there,
that
huh?
interesting? Yeah.
It's, they're looking for confirmation bias, and they got the opposite.
Right.
Of the matter before the Supreme Court involves 2 minority defendants. Redmond is African American and Molina is Latino. The justice system has to be careful, Carmen said, to make sure that such searches are not just a pretext or a fishing expedition without legal justification. I will second and third that right there. Prosecutors from Illinois Attorney General Juan Raul suggested that the circumstances may affect searches for smoked cannabis, but that the smell of raw cannabis alone suggests a violation of the vehicle code requirement to have it in a sealed odor-proof container. That's a crazy one there. You know, sealed odor-proof container. I mean, you can put it in a Ziploc bag and zip it all you want, but if it's fresh, high terp cannabis, you're still going to be able to smell it through the bag.
Well, what more do you want? This other guy had it like in a container, in a glove box and stuff. Like,
yeah, and what was it, 3 joints or something like that, or something stupid that the guy cop said he smelled?
Like, even in your own vehicle, you're driving your own car, and they're like, you gotta put that in some smell proof. I was like, you won't mind your fucking business. You don't worry about how my car smells.
I don't understand why you have to have raw cannabis in a smell-proof container, though, because the smell of the cannabis, while it's going to be, I say, you're losing terpenes, it's going to make the value of the cannabis degrade faster if you're losing the smell. It's not going to make you high in any way, and it's not going to be dangerous to anybody around you. The smell of raw cannabis, it's very floral, fruity, you know, sometimes gassy, but never dangerous. So I don't understand that requirement right there, the raw cannabis thing. Okay, possible innocent explanations do not mean there is not probable cause for search, Ness said. Some state Supreme Courts in Minnesota, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania have ruled that cannabis odor does not justify a search, while a high court in Wisconsin, where pot remains illegal, ruled it was grounds for a search. Last year, State Senator Rachel Ventura, a Democrat from Joliet, introduced a bill to prohibit police from searching a vehicle based upon odor of burnt or raw cannabis alone. The measure passed the Senate and is before the House, but Ventura told the Tribune she's holding off on the bill to see what the court does. Constituents and even other lawmakers have complained about getting stopped and searched by police who said they smelled cannabis but found nothing. Gosh, we've all seen that, haven't we? Do I smell cannabis? Oh, yeah, right, fine. Cannabis is a legal substance in Illinois, she said, so we should stop treating it as if it's evidence that a person has done something wrong. Amen. Thank you. Police still generally search a vehicle without a warrant if the driver gives them permission or if they take possession of the vehicle after an arrest, accident, or tow and conduct an inventory search.
Damn.
So I'm just hoping that the Supreme Court here finally says, okay, the smell of cannabis, because it is legal, is not a reason you can search.
And that would be federally, that would.
No, this is a state law here.
Okay, so this is
Supreme Court of Illinois.
Oh,
yeah.
Just the Supreme Court of a certain state.
Yeah, not the
so it would be the whole Supreme Court. Oh,
yeah,
that's a shame.
No, but they can actually, other states can use this as a precedent in order to bring a legislation forward in their own state, but it would have to be brought forth in each state. But it's good to see that at least the high court in one state is looking at this, because just the smell of weed does not mean you're intoxicated. And just because you don't smell like weed doesn't mean you're not intoxicated. I mean,
well, and also considering the track record for they're 3 times more likely to search black drivers or people of color, just based on that alone, they should just fuck off.
Super Copper in the chat said here, if the police officer only charges you for cannabis and no written warning or tickets, why were you pulled over? Very good point there, Super Cropper.
Right.
That's right. It's like
'Cause
when
he-
you get arrested and charged for resisting arrest. It's like, what else
Yeah.
though? What else? Because there needs
Why
to be
was
something.
I
for you to be
arresting? Why were you arresting
Exactly.
me in the first
Of
place?
course,
You know,
I'm
what was I
resisting
arrest-
arrest if I've done nothing wrong, motherfucker.
But the only charge
Yeah.
is resisting arrest, right?
Jesus.
I get it. This is crazy.
Mhm. But
I don't know, man.
interesting. It's a shame that it's just one state, but like you say, hopefully it's a domino effect and it moves on. Progress, all the same. You know, it's good to see progress, man.
How much influence would a state like Illinois have, like in something like this? To
Well,
influence states?
you do have a major population center of Chicago in there, so that would
Right.
be, you know, relatively big and could be used as a legal precedent. However, other states could use it almost, it would be used more of a signpost of anything else, like this is what they're doing, this is what we should consider, kind of thing.
Right.
But
Mhm.
just because Illinois is doing it doesn't mean anybody else has to do it. That's the way the US works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the states have autonomy to do it their way.
So let's do another one. See, I've got. I'm going to quickly hit this one from the UK. Yay, everybody! Here's a UK story. But this was. It's not too bad. This one. I first saw the headline. I'll read the headline to you. It says, "Duo arrested after camera used to scope out homes for cannabis." And I'm like, them cheeky bastards! How is that legal? Because it really irritates me that the old bill can just like spy on you by looking. Sorry. Yeah, the old bill can just spy on you through looking through your walls with a certain type of technology to see that there's a fucking cannabis grow there. You know, it just doesn't seem legal. It's not like they can walk up to your house and just stick their faces against the window and have a look inside. Just because you're using a certain type of camera doesn't change the fact that you're spying on my house. But anyway, that's going off on a bit of a tangent there. This was the other way around. So I'll read this article out to you. It's not a very long one. 2 suspects were arrested after a thermal camera was reportedly used to scope out houses for cannabis grows. Officers were called to Sherwood on Wednesday, the 17th of January, on Wednesday night, after someone was allegedly seen filming houses. A car was reportedly stopped driving slowly through the area at 11:30 p.m. and aiming a handheld camera at people's homes. After hearing about this suspicious behavior, police attended minutes later and spotted a vehicle matching the description nearby. The car was then followed and pulled over in Nottingham Road, New Basford, at which point a thermal imaging camera was discovered. So essentially, these guys were just driving around the streets of Nottinghamshire, I think was where they were. And they were trying to find the heat signatures of cannabis grows in people's houses so they could just go and kick the door off and go take the shit.
That's
And-
creepy.
yeah, that's scary,
It
right?
is.
That's fucking scary,
Yeah.
man. And it's not a new thing. This has been going on for a while. You know, and it's because if it's a big house, you know, the personal grows might not be too much of a concern. It may not even get spotted because it's not hot enough. But when it's big grows, when it's rooms done out, room after room in a house, then it becomes more noticeable to these thermal cameras, which is another reason why you shouldn't go too big with your grows as well, because it's much more viewable under them circumstances. But for a change, this was doing us a favour. The old bill came along and they took these 2 degenerate motherfuckers who were trying to take people's crops off the streets. So, you know, well done. Well done for doing the right thing. And I bet they took that camera back to the station and be like, yeah, lads, look, can use this now. You know, they took them down to the station like, did you find any? You know, did you have any suspicion? If you
They
tell us,
reviewed the-
give us 2
They
houses
reviewed
and
all
we'll
the
let you
footage
go.
first before they turned it in, huh?
Mm-hmm. Where were we with this? Yeah, the thermal imaging camera was discovered. Suspecting the heat sensor equipment had been used to spot hidden cannabis grows to potentially steal later, police detained the 2 men in the car. 2 men, aged 22 and 25, were both subsequently arrested on suspicion of going equipped for theft. Wow, that's a different one. Arrested on suspicion of going equipped for theft. Okay. You know, it's like just one of them cameras and bolt cutters. Is that what it going equipment for theft? Okay. Detective Sergeant James Hurst of Nottinghamshire Police said, thanks to the alertness of our officers. Don't forget about the fucking people who phoned you up in the first place. It's not like you spotted a couple of guys acting dodgy. You were phoned up and told about it. Jesus, don't try and take credit. Sorry. Thanks to the alertness of our officers, we were able to quickly respond to these reports of suspicious activity and pull over a car that we believed was involved. A thermal imaging camera was then seized from inside the vehicle, which we strongly believe were being used to scope out the area for any potential hidden cannabis grows based inside the properties. Suspecting the motive for this would have been at some point come back and try to take any cannabis found, we arrested the two suspects at the roadside. Cannabis production brings nothing but trouble to communities, whether it be throughout the fire risk these grows pose or the link to the wider criminality. It is certainly not a victimless crime, so we'd always urge anyone who suspects a grow could be operating in their area to let us know by reporting it to the police. So there we go. Yeah, just a interesting one. You got to watch out for these BMX bandits, I like to call them as well, but these guys wasn't on a BMX. This is where you have to keep quiet. For all these places that are still cultivating illegally, it is very important to just try and keep it hidden as much as possible. Proper insulation. Don't go too crazy. Don't kit out rooms with HPSs and have ridiculous heat pouring out the place. The people notice. You don't want the wrong people. You don't want anybody kicking the door off, but you don't want the people who are going to beat shit out of you. And
well, if you're doing it right, if you're doing it right, you don't need rooms full of plants to grow your own personal medicine. You can do it in a very small tent.
Yeah, and it's not worth it to them then. Just a little 1 meter tent, 4 plants in it. That's plenty to provide yourself with cannabis. Plenty. Maybe 2 if you're making oils and things like that. But that's still good. It's not too big. But still, be careful. Always be careful. So I just thought I'd bring that one out and, say thank you to the police for keeping the cannabis growers of Nottinghamshire safe. They are safer now because you did your job. Please do more of that. Thank you. What should we do next? Marge, you've got one about science.
A little science, yes.
A little science.
A study that we didn't know we needed.
Yes,
So
this is that's right, because I wrote on the notes as well.
Yeah, you did. I saw that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. What was written on the notes when we get to this article. Yeah.
So this here's the science behind the munchies after cannabis use, according to one study. So take it with a grain of salt because it's one study, but still, I know many of you out there probably get. Do you guys get munchies really hard?
Not really.
It depends on the strain, really.
I used to, but I never do anymore.
It's rare, but sometimes I'll find that rare cultivar that they just want to eat.
Right. And I know lots of people that happens to. So Washington State University scientists find that cannabis vapor stimulates parts of the hypothalamus to trigger hunger. Researchers at Washington State University have pinpointed a source of the munchies, a well-known side effect of inhaling cannabis. The federally funded study revealed that cannabis activates cells in the hypothalamus, stimulating the appetite in mice that had breathed in vaporized marijuana. The researchers observed that cannabis activated a set of cells in the hypothalamus when the rodents anticipated and consumed palatable food that were not activated in unexposed mice. John Davis, assistant professor of the neuroscience at the university, said in a press release on the study. The study by 13 researchers at the university and published in nature.com is the first known study to use calcium imaging, which resembles an MRI of the brain to observe how brain cells in mice reacted to cannabis smoke. We know one of the ways that the brain responds to recreational type cannabis to promote appetite, Davis said. Researchers saw increased activity in the hypothalamus, an area deep inside the brain that influences basic bodily functions. When mice are given cannabis, neurons come on that typically are not active, David said. There's something important happening in the hypothalamus after vapor cannabis. And has long been widely known that cannabis stimulates the appetite, including in people undergoing chemotherapy, but the mechanisms behind this effect have remained a mystery. Therapies that try to isolate parts of the cannabis plant often fail to stimulate appetite. The study built on earlier work that established that accurate nucleus neurons within the mediobasal hypothalamus help regulate feeding behavior. Davis was one of the first researchers to use vaporized cannabis instead of injected THC in animal studies. The study,
why do you have to go so extreme, man? You burn some weed around the fucking mouse. You don't need to inject it. This is why they say one injection of cannabis will kill you, because you're injecting rats with fucking
Right.
THC and they're dying. God damn.
Well, I suppose
Jesus,
injecting
sorry.
THC though is one way to keep the dose very consistent, but it's also not the way people actually consume cannabis. So
God
maybe there's a
damn.
utility in that, but yeah, most people are injecting THC straight into the
You know, I just
which
imagine it to be really sticky.
I
How are you
it might be,
injecting
I don't
that
know.
into anybody, you know?
Right. But then also, what are they injecting? Like, is it pure THC? Because that's also not an accurate picture of what people are vaporizing or combusting either.
Yeah, I don't know.
True.
Yeah. The study which was initially reported by Marijuana Moment, was funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Research Program, the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, and Washington State Initiative 171.
You know, if there's
Mhm.
anything that you can call drug abuse, I would say it was injecting mice with THC.
I'm thinking like, it'd be so much easier just to hotbox a rat and be done with it, you know?
You know what I mean? Shit, man. Fucking
But you
hell.
also have to take this study with a grain of salt as well, because
Mhm.
it's a study done in mice, and humans aren't exactly like mice.
No.
But it's interesting that they're figuring out that there's this thing in the hypothalamus that gets activated. I mean, I feel like every stoner watching this right now could probably have told you the same thing, but I digress.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. I know when I first started growing my own at the house, it's found that the munchies are a lot less on my homegrown cannabis than they are in even dispensary bought stuff, especially black market stuff. Because I remember back in the day, was always reaching for something to eat anytime you sparked up a joint. But you know, I think this is no science to back this up, but I think properly grown cannabis has less munchies. At least it does for me.
Mm.
Well, could it also mean that, like, when you're buying stuff off the legal market or even the legacy market, you tend to also have the same strains in rotation for long periods of time? Like,
Hmm.
when you grow yourself, you can grow whatever you want, like whatever strikes
Mhm.
your fancy. Where you're going to the legal market, like, you get those trends, like everything's crossed with Girl Scout cookies or whatever,
Oh yeah.
and maybe you just see more of the same stuff. But you can grow more interesting stuff because you're growing your own.
Hmm.
I wonder if
Yeah.
that might have something to do with it too.
That's right. And the
Could be.
note we added before this article as well was this isn't the study. I mean, we appreciate the study, you know, thanks for finding this out. But what we would really appreciate if you did like a study showing that cannabis helped with the epilepsy and, you know, and like pain and things like that. You know,
Right.
those kind of useful studies. It's like we don't care why we have the munchies. We just want to eat stuff and get rid of the munchies. That's fine. Can you do something about like the real issues? You know, the MS, the Parkinson's, the epilepsy. Do those studies now, if you don't mind. That would be really cool. Thank you kindly. Just a request from the
I
cannabis
do hear what you're
community.
saying, but I also
Uh,
feel like it's important that they do these types of studies because I mean, this John Davis guy is the assistant professor of neuroscience. So perhaps when you start with these types of studies and they're accepted and published in journals, then they can move on to the more important stuff.
yeah,
It also has to do with neuroscience a lot of the times too.
yeah, man. Let's
At
hope
least
so.
they're doing them. The
Yeah,
states is
it's something, isn't it? Because of the scheduling of it as well. It's
yeah.
you know, it's difficult, isn't it, to do the studies on it. And I think
Joseph said some mice grew their hair long too.
yeah, and they learn to play guitar as well. But
That's
speaking
funny.
of rescheduling cannabis, we have that's one of the articles that we have here from Monkey as well. Is talking about
Yeah,
rescheduling.
it kind of it's a good article. It jumps on the bandwagon of rescheduling. It's American Nurses Association cheers federal health agency's cannabis rescheduling recommendation. So the
Ooh,
nurses are jumping on board now. So I like this.
that's good.
Nice.
Yeah, the American Nurses Association is applauding the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services recommendation to move cannabis to Schedule 3, calling the action a positive step toward developing an evidence-based approach for cannabis and related cannabinoid use in disease and symptom management. The
Here, here.
Yeah, really. I mean, for the longest time, medical professionals have been forbidden to talk about this, and it sounds like the nurses actually want to talk about it. So by all means. The American Nurses Association, ANA, recognizes this as an accomplishment in realizing the potential for cannabis in healthcare delivery. The group said in a press release on Thursday, this marks the first time HHS has publicly acknowledged cannabis's medical use. The professional association, which says it represents more than 5 million registered nurses across the country, has pushed for reclassifying cannabis since at least 2021 and has supported providing safe access to therapeutic cannabis and related cannabinoids for more than 20 years. In September of last year, it officially recognized cannabis as a formal specialty nursing practice area. So that's nice. They're going to actually have, start training nurses specifically into use what cannabis is all about. ANA continues to reiterate its position, urging policymakers to review and reclassify cannabis's status to support clinical research on how cannabis could benefit patients and providers, a new release says, noting that it also supports the urgency of clinical research to inform patients and providers of the efficacy of cannabis and related cannabinoids. ANA bills itself as the sole reviewing body of specialty nursing scope of practice and standards of practice. In recognizing cannabis as a practice area last year, the group's president said that the move was was to highlight the essential role and special contribution of cannabis nurses to healthcare systems and promote enhanced integration of cannabis therapies for healthcare consumers across diverse healthcare settings. Screen glitched there for a second. I lost it. The organization also gave a nod to a separate group, the American Cannabis Nurses Association, which advocates for research, education, and policy reform around medical cannabis. ANA credited that group for pioneering the cannabis nursing field and contributing to the broad landscape of nursing practices and patient care. Rachel Parmalee, president of ACNA, last year said that the group was deeply gratified by the groundbreaking establishment of cannabis nursing as an ANA recognized nursing specialty. I wonder where you go to school to study cannabis nursing. Would it have to be in a legal state? Or can you do that?
Jamaica.
Yes, I love it.
Jamaica, I don't know if that was a good Jamaican accent, but I tried, everybody. I tried.
Gotcha.
Okay. And probably not, because it's not even legal. Well, it hasn't been for a long time. Anyway.
Okay, currently the HHS rescheduling recommendation is under review by the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, which says it has final review on the matter. Earlier this week, the Congressional Research Service laid out the limitations of the proposed policy change, emphasizing that the state cannabis markets would continue to run afoul of federal law, while existing criminal penalties at the federal level for certain cannabis-related activity would remain in force. This is what a lot of people are saying. Just rescheduling cannabis in the United States is not going to change the legal problems between the federal and the states. It's basically going to just bring this federal a little bit closer to where the state is. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how they're going to patch that together, if it happens. In September, CRS realized a related analysis that focused on how rescheduling would have broad implications for federal policy in areas such as taxes, housing, immigration, military eligibility, gun rights, and more. Researchers also assessed that it is likely DEA will abide by the HHS recommendations based upon past precedent. Now, I'm not really going to say that one right there, I think it would be nice if they followed suit, but they really are flexing their muscle these days. HHS finally released the full recommendation and scientific findings it shared with DEA last week, and HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra said that the agency has communicated their position on cannabis rescheduling to the DEA and has continued to offer additional information to assist with its final determination. The DEA has steadfastly maintained that it has a final authority over the matter and can make any scheduling determination that it sees fit. Now, tell me if that ain't some saber rattling right there. We're going to do it, and you got to do what we say. Boy, that just scares me when any government agency has that level of authority and that amount of bravado to make that kind of a statement. I don't like it. The statement came in response to an early letter from 31 bipartisan lawmakers led by Representative Earl Blumenauer a Democrat of Oregon that urged the
There's no
agency
K
to
in that. Blumenauer.
Blumenauer.
Blumenauer. Yeah.
Blumenauer. I
Yes.
like it. Earl
Yes.
Blumenauer. Yeah, I can butcher a name now.
It's one of our
I'm good at that.
specialities on High on Homegrown.
You know, and I don't try to butcher them. They just happen. You know, it's
Yeah.
one of those things. But anyway, the DEA has faced pressure on both sides of the cannabis policy debate over the recent months, with advocates pressing for a Schedule III decision or complete descheduling. That's what we really want. And prohibitionists urging the agency to keep cannabis at Schedule I. Prior to the
Wow.
HHS documents release, a coalition of 11 Democratic state attorney generals implored the DEA to move forward with federal cannabis rescheduling, calling the policy change a public safety imperative. In another letter last month, 29 former U.S. attorneys called on the Biden administration to leave cannabis on Schedule 1. So that just blows me, right? They have more state attorney generals retired or either active that are calling for it to be left on Schedule 1 than are calling it to remove it from Schedule 1. I have to wonder if this is because leaving it on Schedule 1 gives the attorney general the power whether or not to charge us. And by removing it, they lose that power. And I know that makes me sound a little bit suspicious and a little bit maybe paranoid, but that's what I'm kind of feeling like it is.
I don't know why you would be paranoid, Monkey. You've got absolutely no reason to be paranoid whatsoever. The government is there to help you, and they only want what is best for you. So don't be so paranoid. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help.
That's the worst thing you'll ever hear.
You know,
I'm the government, and I'm here to help.
The 9 scariest words in the English language, according to Richard Nixon. I keep saying Nixon. Richard Nixon, who was a president himself, so he knows how fucked things are. Right. Well, at least were, right? That was like fucking 50 years ago or something. It's a while ago.
Okay, so let's wrap this article up. Last month, the governors of 6 U.S. states, Colorado, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, and Louisiana, sent a letter to Biden calling on the administration to reschedule cannabis by the end of last year, which didn't happen. Meanwhile, 6 former DEA heads and 5 former White House drug czars sent a letter to the Attorney General and current DEA administration voicing opposition to the top federal health agency's recommendation to reschedule cannabis. They also made a questionable claim about the relationship between the drug schedules and criminal penalties in a way that could exaggerate the potential impact of the incremental reform. Signatories include DEA and Office of National Drug Czar Control Policy heads under multiple administrations led by presidents of both parties. Now, you know how they always say that absolute power corrupts absolutely? You know, these are people that held that absolute power to charge you or not charge you. And I'm just wondering if they really understand what they're doing here, or if they're just saying, yeah, if we lose that, we lose the ability to charge people. Not the fact that this material is not worthy of being charged. I mean, it's no worse. We said it many times. It's no worse than beer or cigarettes or coffee. I mean, basically, cannabis is nothing more than just the same type of a vice. That somebody that should have the option of using if they choose to. One of those situations.
And just to quickly add there, John Carson, yeah, he is correct. I did say Nixon over and over again, which is like even more incorrect because it was Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Reagan. It wasn't Nixon. Yeah, my bad.
I was not thinking a Nixon quote would be popular in this country. You know.
Yeah. We only know like I am not a crook. You know,
exactly. That's what we really know about Nixon. That's the only one we know about Nixon, really, you know. But anyway, so yeah, it looks like the nurses want to come on board, which is a great thing here. You know,
they probably have some clout, like these nurses associations.
They do. I mean, now if we can just get the physicians side to actually jump on board on this and say now then we can actually get some real maybe pressure toward the DEA actually doing something good here. But I know everybody is still, not everybody, but a lot of people are still unhappy about rescheduling from 1 to 3. But like I said before, this is how legalization happened in the U.S. before. Is first thing that happens is you get medical first, and then when you find out the world doesn't blow up, then you might get recreational. So I think we're looking for that again in the United States, to where they probably will reschedule to 3, and then some year 2 years, 3 year down the line, when they realize that, okay, the money's there and this is really not hurting anybody, then we'll probably get recreational.
I think that's about right. I think
long, though.
that seems like the right steps to take. I think that's the way
Yeah,
to go.
it takes a long time to do those things, but this is the government. We don't do things overnight, you know?
Just rip the fucking Band-Aid off and just move on. Holy shit.
Well, I did see an article in, I think it was this morning news, is that if Biden successfully reschedules cannabis, that it would give him a big bump to his candidacy in the next election. So yeah, you may actually see some movement before the next election because
Well,
of
and that makes
but
sense too, because if he's looking for votes and stuff, I mean, people working in healthcare, that's a huge, that employs a fuck ton of people in the States.
yeah, it is.
So it makes sense. I also like how they talk about, developing an evidence-based approach for marijuana and related cannabinoid use in disease and symptom management. Like that just sounds like the kind of language you want to have being used around cannabis use in a healthcare setting, as opposed to these former DEA people being like, but I don't know. They're looking at a more criminal perspective, which I think is wrong.
That's what they were taught for years, and that's what the entire American public was taught for years, is that anybody who has anything to do with cannabis is a criminal. So of course the EA that's the way they're looking at it. And all these attorneys and attorney generals and are all looking at it. Yeah, those are the criminals that are doing that, but they really never have looked at why are people using cannabis. They really never have. It's always been assumed that, oh, they're just doing it for fun or for whatever reason. Some of it's fun, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it is just for fun, but there are a lot of good uses for cannabis that can help improve your life. We know it, or else we wouldn't be on the microphone today,
Right.
So let's quickly squeeze in this last one. We have this one more from the UK, and it isn't a bad one. It's just I thought it was a little bit of a light-hearted one that we can end the news with here. We have Devon businessman wants to make cars out of cannabis.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, I think it's in a movie like this. He's at the forefront of a construction revolution, says the subtitle here. I was thinking as well when I read this, I'm going to try and get this guy on the show, try and find out where he is, get him on the show. It'd be good to chat to him, see if we can make our own cars, Which quickly reminds me as well, I was walking the dogs the other day and I was like, Jesus, what is that pungent smell of cannabis? My life might be at risk here. So I'm looking around and I saw just like a pile of wet buds, sticks, somebody's harvested, and like the popcorn buds and the stems and all that shit have just been thrown into the bushes, just left there to decompose. Yeah. And it's like you shouldn't fly tip, but it was economically done. Let's say it's hard to get rid of that stuff in the UK if you don't have a garden or a worm farm. It's very hard to get rid of that contraband. You can't take it to the tip stinking like that. You know what I mean? You'll get fucking arrested. So what else can you do with it? There was no plastics. It was all biodegradable. Some animals may eat it and have a nice little winter, but it'll be gone soon. But
they could have made some edibles out those popcorn buds, though, man. They threw away some good stuff there.
It's one of those. It didn't look great. You wouldn't waste your time with it, But still, it was funny. And then when I walked the dogs further down the road, I was like, Jesus, it's happening again. Is there another pile of weed somewhere? But no, there wasn't. Not as far as I could see. But anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up. Just random pile of weed there on the dog walk. But anyway, a Plymouth businessman at the forefront of a construction revolution, which could see buildings made out of a type of cannabis. So they're talking about hempcrete there, isn't it? Rich Evans and his companies Mireco, so that's Mirreco, so Mireco maybe, and Hempedemics are working with partners including the University of Plymouth on a project which could see miracle crop, in quotation marks, hemp grown across the country and used to make buildings and even cars. Industrial hemp is a botanical class of cannabis, but with less of the psychoactive content of cannabis, grown specifically for commercial use, and its fibers can be fashioned into anything from rope and fabrics to building materials. The University of Plymouth has already built a freestanding classroom out of hemp. Wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Mr. Evans, who became interested in the commercial possibility of hemp while living in Australia for a decade, described industrial hemp as the world's strongest known fiber and said, "Hemp is an amazing plant. It grows fast, cleans the atmosphere, and can be used as a building material. It has about 25,000 uses. Hemp rightfully holds the claim as the miracle crop of the future." And it does, man. It can do so much. It's crazy how much this plant does for us. Medicine, fibers, food. The seeds become
Protein,
food.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Oils for plastics even, yeah.
For thousands of years, industrial hemp was used by various civilizations to make horseshoes, ropes, boat rigging, food, medicine, clothing, and construction materials. Henry Ford built a car made from hemp in the late 30s, but Mr. Evans said mainly due to the war on drugs, use of the material was suppressed until recently. He said during the war on drugs and prohibition, cannabis was criminalized. It's basically the same, but if you tried to smoke hemp, you would not get so high. In the UK, they called it reefer madness. There was a campaign against it, and the technology was repressed. They said it gets people high, but that's cannabis. Yeah, so just a little bit of misinformation there, really, from the government, which is unusual.
Government misinformation.
Yeah, what? They didn't tell them the truth. What? But in the past few years, has seen a leap in the use of industrial hemp in plastics, nutrition, health, protein, and composites. German car maker BMW now use hemp fiber in electrical vehicle components, and in 2021, Porsche built an entire hemp-bodied prototype racing car. Mr. Evans, a former property developer and renovator, said that when he learned about Ford's hemp car, it blew his mind. He said, "When I flew to Australia and saw all that land, I thought, wow, you can grow a lot of hemp here." Yeah, I bet that's what he thought. He set up the Miraco in 2018 and received a grant from the Australian government. The company won awards for its environmental impact. So yeah, this guy wants to make fucking cars out of weed, everybody.
Okay, well, how many tents do I have to set up to grow a car?
Yeah, that's it. It's gonna be a lot, isn't it? It's gonna be a lot.
Well, I mean, there is a lot of stems and other byproduct though in commercial cannabis production right now, and it's so weird because I know in the States at least, high THC byproduct. So many rules on selling it. Most of the time it can't be reused or in anything. So a lot of places just have piles of bio waste that they can't deal with because of law.
Stupidness, man.
It is.
But it's pretty cool.
Imagine.
You're seeing these companies pop up now that are using industrial hemp for these kind of things, and it helps reduce the stigma of cannabis, even if it's just a little bit, And it makes you think as well, could we use our cannabis plants for things like that? Could we use our stems and shit to make rope, or are our cannabis plants different because they grow THC plants, or is it just the same fiber and the flowers are different? You know what I mean?
I imagine the fiber would probably be similar. Just when they're growing hemp fields, they grow so much. They do grow a lot differently. They're really tall and spindly because they're growing them for specifically. But I don't think that doesn't mean you couldn't use your own to make rope or something if you wanted.
I'd imagine you're right. I think if the stems
But
would
in
be
a
the same.
commercial aspect, it makes more sense to grow hemp the way they grow it.
Right.
But I would buy a hemp car as long as it was safe. But
You know what I mean? Maybe
it
at
makes
least
sense
if there's
though, because like how fast does a crop of hemp grow in?
yeah, and like you said as well, it cleans the atmosphere, it cleans the soil, it takes all radioactive particles out the soil and shit like that. So if it's grown in the right place, it can do a lot of good for the environment.
Yeah.
And also make radioactive cars, man. How cool would that be? Drives itself.
I don't know about that now, but
shit. Yeah, but I thought that was a nice, interesting, light-hearted story. We could finish it on there. So good luck to him. I hope it ends up well. But more cannabis to be grown in the UK.
Because I think a lot because of prohibition too, they've just so many of these cool things have been overlooked. And we should be making more use of it.
Yeah, I think some of these things were overlooked on purpose. I think some of them were hidden,
Yeah.
They don't
we're
want
cutting
you
down
to.
trees to make toilet paper. Does that make any sense?
Damn. It'd be some shitty weed.
Well, it makes so much more sense to use hemp to like make things like, stuff you throw away anyway,
Yeah,
Sure, I agree.
instead of cutting down trees that take
that's
however long
right.
to grow.
Yeah, and there's some ridiculous statistic as well, which shows the difference between making paper out of hemp compared to trees, and it's like 40 times more efficient or something. It's just
Right.
crazy how they're chopping down trees when you can just regrow this crop over and over again. It makes no sense, man. Especially nowadays when so many people are going on about the impact we're having on the environment. This is the step we need to take.
I
Move
think
towards
so.
hemp.
Yeah.
you know?
Hemp and mushrooms will save the
Mhm.
world.
Right. So yeah, that's all the news stories. We just got a little bit of forum news there. It is the last Friday of the month on Friday, and on the last Friday every month we have a session in our Zoom room. So if you're a patron, keep an eye out for the link over on percysgrowroom.com or over on the Discord. And if you're not a patron, then become a patron and you'll be able to join us for this week's interviews and for the session on Friday as well. So do that if you haven't done that already, but no pressure, of course. Any more forum news to add there, Monkey? You got anything else to add?
We had a winner of Plant of the Month was John Carlson, I
Oh
believe.
yeah, that's right. His first win. Congratulations,
It
bro.
was his first win.
Congratulations.
I think his first entry over at Percy's and his first win. So congratulations on that.
That's
Sure.
right. We don't take kindly to folk like you around here.
Actually,
Coming along, stealing our bling.
we welcome those kind of people to come along and steal our bling. Yes,
Yes,
we
man.
actually we love the competition over at Percy. So if you got something you want to show off, join. Come on, we'd love
Yeah,
to
man.
see it.
Come join us. That's right. Very cool. Congratulations, John. Very good. Obviously, more work's been done over at the forum as well. Still more stuff to be done. We got a cool new user mentioning feature where you can just tag people by using the @ symbol, which is very cool. Got a few things to work out on it still, but it's a nice feature. Interviews this week. We are speaking to Jesse Lavoy from Toba Grown about the progress he has
Yeah.
been having over there. That's going to be on Tuesday at 9 p.m. GMT, 4 p.m. Eastern, and 1 p.m. Pacific. But that's for patrons, of course. And then on Thursday, we speak to London from the FCP. He's been on the show before, and
Yes.
yeah, but I don't think that interview went out because it was all laggy and stuff. It's,
Yeah, he was on mobile.
yeah, in
And the mountains
Italy,
of
and the
Italy.
connection was dodgy and shit. So.
So yeah, it was like a 10-second lag time between he would speak and we would hear him. It was rough.
That's
Yeah,
hard
man.
to listen to.
Yeah.
It
But
is.
he's a cool guy. It was a good interview, and it's going to be good to get him back on so we can have a proper conversation. He says his internet's sorted now, so it'll be all nice.
Is that FCP Future Cannabis Project?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah,
With
cool.
Chad and
Yeah.
Brian and Marco, those guys, all from over there. Yeah, London's a cool guy, man. He does the Dan Cower podcast as well, which we'll talk about in the Grow Guides when we talk about all of the cannabis content that we recommend you check out online as well. So I think that's everything, right?
I think so. We covered a lot of news today.
Yeah, 7 stories. It was a lot. Let's do it. Let's move on to the outro then and take a quick 5-minute break. Oh, that music started. That music wasn't supposed to start. Jesus.
Oh, there goes the professionalism.
Yeah, the music was still playing there, so it didn't count. All right, and there we go. There we go, everybody. Thanks for joining us for the news. I hope you enjoyed the news there. I hope you enjoyed some of the news stories. And don't forget, if you have any news stories that you see throughout the week that you want us to report on next week's show, then do let us know. Just drop it in the Discord server. You can go over to percysgrowroom.com and message us over there. Drop it in a thread in the news section. You can. There's just loads of different ways to get in touch. Over on Instagram, on X, on Facebook. So if you do see news stories that you want us to cover, send it to us and we'll cover it. Most likely. No, not the ones Billy sends us.
I'm not reading those.
Yeah, can't read those. You know, their subscription, they want money to get in there behind a paywall. But yes, good show. We have the Grow Guides over on the next video. The link is at the top of the chat there. If you just click it, it will take you over to the video, the Grow Guides, where we're talking about different cannabis content creators, which you should check out if you haven't already. But that's about it for now. We're gonna take a quick break. 420 is coming up, so roll your shit. Get a little bit high, and we'll see you in about 12 minutes over on the other video. Sounds like a plan. Cool. I'll let that
Nice.
music professionally fade in now, rather than just starting for no reason. You know, gremlins. Sweet. We'll catch you in about
Catch you on
11
the
minutes.
flip side.
There was something else I was going to say and I forgot what it was. But yeah, we got the grow guys. You might be able to talk about it over there if I remember what it was. Cool. See you in a bit. Stay high, stay safe.
Bye.
Yay.
Everybody.